Okay, Be'ezrat Hashem, Na'aseh v'natzliach. I want to welcome you to the Lighthouse project as we continue the series of basics in Judaism. Tonight's lesson is the king of all drinks. Before we get started, I'd like to give an honorable mention to our class sponsors. We have H&M Builders, part of our Issachar and Zvulun sponsorship, doing this in memory of their grandfather, in honor of the Dornbush family. Be'ezrat Hashem, that the Dornbush family have Tzachar, Beracha v'Atzlacha in all they do, health, wealth, success, Bsorot Tovot. We have an additional sponsor, Noam Avidar, my childhood best friend, doing this in honor of his parents, Tzion and Rachel Avidar. Be'ezrat Hashem, that they have long life, Refuah, Atzlacha, Simchat Chaim, and Be'ezrat Hashem, he's also doing this in honor of his wife, Allison, and kids, Yaakov, Zechariah, and Yael, and also for his siblings, Galia, Dorit, and Eliyahu. Be'ezrat Hashem, that the Avidar family have a huge spiritual elevation, Nalot Mala Mala, B'Torah, Mitzvot, V'Maasim Tovim, have a tremendous amount of success in all they do, Bsorot Tovot, Refuah Shelema, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we see you again in Pesach. Okay, and this is also for the Refuah Shema Menachem Mendel Besar Batia and the Rav Fega Bat Rezo, and in memory of Yitzchak Shlomo ben Manis Levi Zichrono Livracha. Okay, let's get started. So as we continue our lesson in the basics in Judaism, there's certain things that we need to know. Basics. As a Jew, you should know this. And each lesson, we delve into it and we go deeper and deeper in things that seem to be just plain and ordinary, but underneath it all is magic. Things that we wouldn't expect to be there. Last week's lesson, we learned that the king of all foods was bread. And we found out so many beautiful things about the simple thing that we take for granted every day. This week, I thought it'd be apropos to find out what the king of all drinks is. So what do you think it is? Is it Budweiser? Mm-hmm. Is it Blue Label for the fancy guys in the bunch? Is it some rare 100-year-old tequila? Is it Coke? Is it Frappuccino from Starbucks? What's the king of all drinks? Maybe it's something as simple as the king of all foods. It's bread. What the other could be? Water. Is it water? It's not. The king of all drinks is wine. Yain. And tonight, we're going to delve into the history of yain. The pros and cons of wine drinking, the spiritual significance and the spiritual powers that this beverage has, and we will answer questions like, why do Jews bless on the wine so much? How many kiddushim do we do a year? It's unbelievable if you count it. Where do we see wine in the Bible? And we do see it in several places. What deal did the devil make with Noach? You're going to love that story. What did Shlomo HaMelech, the smartest man to ever live, say about wine? What health benefits does wine promote? We'll visit what science and research says, and let's see what the rabbis say as well. What does it mean when you see wine in a dream? What's the reason that Jews say l'chaim before drinking wine? What's the source for it? What is the wine from the 6 days of creation, and where is it? What happens to a Jew's wine when a goy, when a Gentile touches it? What happens? These and many other questions we will answer tonight, as well as some very interesting halachot concerning wines that you might not know. Let's begin tonight's lesson. the king of all drinks, wine. First, let's see what science and research says about wine. Well, good things. It contains antioxidants. It boosts the immune system. It increases bone density. It reduces the risk of stroke. It reduces the risk of heart disease. It can lower cholesterol. It reduces the risk of type 2 diabetes. There's additional benefits. It improves heart health in various ways. It helps in raising levels of omega-3 fatty acids, whatever that means. It promotes healthy blood vessels and blood pressure. It helps brain damage after stroke. It's good at preventing vision loss. Good at preventing colon cancer. Good for preventing breast cancer. And many, many more. However, this is a Torah class. And to really understand the role of wine, the story of wine, and the role of wine in our lives and in our religion, and also why we give it so much importance, because again, if you think about it, there's no other religion that puts so much emphasis on wine like we do. I mean, we basically do so many kiddushim throughout the year. On Shabbat, how many do we do? One in the morning, and one at night, and one in the morning. There's two right there, a third one in Havdalah. Some do an additional bracha, tov umetiv, when they bring an extra bottle of wine, a better bottle of wine, or some even the Seudah Shlishit. Wine, all Shabbat, is on the table. How about in the holidays, in the Chagim? How many holidays do we have? Every single holiday has its own kiddush and its own script. Yom Tov, Rosh Chodesh, Birkat Hamazon, so many different places, Brit Milah, everywhere you go, kiddush, 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 kiddush. And in order to understand why it's such an intricate part of our life, why it's such a big part of Jewish life, we have to go back to the beginning. We always like to go back to the beginning, to the source. And the beginning is the beginning of time, the time of Bereshit. So, when Adam and Chava were in the Garden of Eden, they sinned from eating from the tree of knowledge of good and bad, Etz Hadat Tov Vera, which as a result, they got punished, they got expelled from Gan Eden, and 39 curses came into the world. 10 for the man, 10 for the woman, 10 for the snake, and 9 for the earth. Last week we discussed the curses of the earth, if you remember, and the curse of the Adam. Our rabbis tell us that the original sin of Adam and Chava was with wine. That the tree of knowledge was actually, according to one opinion, a grapevine. As a matter of fact, since we're talking about it, most people think that Eve ate out of an apple. There was never an apple. An apple is just some artist rendering that used an apple as some symbolic piece of fruit to the storyline. But according to our tradition, it could have been 3 different things. Tanya, we learned this in a Gemara that's in Masechet Brachot. Ilan she'achal mimeno Adam HaRishon, the tree that Adam HaRishon ate from, there are 3 different opinions. Rabbi Meir Omer Gefen Haya. Rabbi Meir has the opinion that it was a grapevine, which is going to be excellent for our listening. Rabbi Meir, we're going to go with your opinion today. Rabbi Nechemiah Omer Te'ena. Rabbi Nechemiah says no, it was a fig tree, because when Adam and Chava, when Hashem gave them their clothes after they felt that they were naked, what was it made out of? Fig leaves. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Chita. Rabbi Yehuda says no, it was wheat. And this is from Talmud Bavli, Masechet Brachot, on the 40th page, on the first side.
But wheat is not a tree.
It was on a tree. You have to understand that in the time of Gan Eden, that tree was that tree was all the flavors. Is the tree, you could get anything from it. But the opinion of the wheat, it's not the wheat that we see today. It's a different wheat. Keep in mind, in that time they could just take the bread off the tree.
Gluten-free.
Gluten-free. And ever since that time of that original sin, when Adam and Chava ate from the forbidden tree, they squeezed the grapes, they drank the wine, ever since then, we've been fixing that original sin. The Chet of Adam HaRishon. As a matter of fact, the first person to begin fixing the original sin was Avraham Avinu. Up until then, nobody dealt with it. Nobody dealt with the original sin. Avraham Avinu was the first one, and throughout the Bible, throughout the Torah, you'll see different places where each person did their share in fixing this original sin. And that's the beauty of the Pardes. If you ever study Torah, past the Pshat level, past the level where you're just reading it. If you go into the Midrash, if you go to the Zohar, if you go to Chazal, over there you'll see the different levels of people getting involved in fixing the original sin of Adam HaRishon. I will share some of those stories with you tonight. But Avraham was the first one to start. And we are here today. We are here today fixing the sin of Adam HaRishon. By the end of the lesson, you'll see your part of it. But before we get to how we fix the original sin, there's more history. So, these grapes that Chava squeezed and turned into wine and let Adam HaRishon drink, that wine, some of it got left over and was taken up to the heavens. There's a pasuk in Tehillim. There's a pasuk in Yeshayahu that says, "Me'e ayin lo ra'ata zulatecha." That there's certain things that nobody saw what you created. So they say, "What is this, Yirmiyah? What are you talking about?" I'm sorry, Yeshayahu. What are you talking about? So they said that this pasuk is talking about the wine that was created in the first 6 days of Bereshit. אמר רבי יהושע בן לוי, זה היה המשומר בענווה מששת ימי בראשית. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says in Masechet Brechot also that this pasuk talks about the special wine that is now in the heavens. Where in the heavens? So it says that there's a seventh heaven, Eichal Shvi'i, and over there you'll find that wine. And this is the wine that Chava gave to her husband, and because of that he went into this particular hall. Because the way that it happened, if you want to know, she didn't give him an apple and he took a bite. They took grapes, she squeezed it, and she let him drink it. That's what happened over there. And because of that, she caused death to come into the world. Death came into the world because of Chava. And in this particular hall in the heavens is anybody who busies themselves with drinking wine to the point that they're inebriated, that it's not to a level of kedusha, that they get to a point of getting drunk, then the neshama goes over there. It's not a good place to be. So we know that there's a remnant of this wine in the heavens. However, after the expulsion of Adam and Chava from Gan Eden, Chazal tell us that tree got taken out of Gan Eden as well. And we got replanted near to the garden, but not in the garden. The tree of knowledge, it says in Masechet Sanhedrin, also in Bereshit Rabbah, which is a midrash, this particular tree that was planted somewhere else, that was taken out of Gan Eden, we see it again. Where do we see it again? In the time of Noah. Noah, right before he got on Noah's ark, he took a branch or a root from this tree to make it with him. So like that, after the world gets this 40-day cleanse of the flood, of the Mabul, of these torrential rains, when he gets out of the ark for the first time, Chazal tells us that the first thing that he did, he planted this tree. And this tree gave fruit on the same day. And he ate from it, and he drank from it, and he got drunk. And later on, his own son castrated him. And Ham, his son, was cursed, and also his son Canaan, that all his children will be slaves. But there's a deeper story over here. It says in the Noach, Bor'eh, come and see. It says Adam Rishon and his wife were the first ones to squeeze these grapes, and she caused death to her and for all of the world to come after her. Noach had his hands on the same set of grapes, and he didn't watch out for himself. He didn't guard himself, because the pasuk says, "Vayesht man min hayayin, vayishchar vayitgar betoch haolah." What happened? He drank from it. He got drunk, and then it speaks in code in the Torah of what happened to him in the tent. But I just explained to you what happened. And the reason why that happened, by the way, is because the world just pressed the reset button. Who's there? You got Noach and his 3 sons. 4 people on earth. Ham says, you know what? This world is mine. I already have to share it with 2 brothers and a father. What happens? We're going to have more kids. They're going to take more of my plot. So he castrated him. And he says, and I'll deal with my other brothers later. But he made sure that nobody else is going to come and take his share of the new world. That was his thinking. Furthermore, Noah's story gets even more interesting. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says that Noah wanted to examine the sin of Adam. He says, I have these grapes over here. I want to know what happened. He wanted to avoid it. He wanted to avoid going through the same history of Adam and Chava. He wanted to actually begin the tikkun of Adam Rishon. He wanted to rectify what was ruined before. But he wasn't able to. He couldn't grasp what the sin was. So, since he couldn't understand the sin, he wanted to understand the product. So he squeezed the wine. He says, let me drink the wine and see, maybe I'll understand the effects of it. This next story that I'm bringing you is brought down in Midrash Tanchuma. When Noach, Chachamenu, Rabotenu Zichronam Livracha, our sages tell us that when Noach came to plant that tree, the devil himself came to him. And he tells him, what are you planting? He tells him, I'm going to plant a vineyard. He says, what is it good for? He says, you see this plant right here? It gives fruit that you can eat fresh or dry, and it's sweet, it's delicious. So he tells him, and he says, furthermore, and you can also even create wine from it, and this wine makes people happy. It livens up their heart. Like the pasuk in Tehillim that says, "V'yayin samach levav enosh." So the devil tells him, let me be your partner on this vineyard. Let me help you out. Noach obliged. What did the Satan do? What did the devil do? He took a lamb and slaughtered it and took the blood and put it right on top of the roots of that tree. After that, he took a lion. He slaughtered that lion and he took the blood of the lion and put it on the roots of that tree. After that, he took a pig. He slaughtered that pig and took the blood of the pig and he put it on the root of that tree as well. After that, he brought a monkey and he killed it, he slaughtered it, and put the blood of the monkey on the roots of that tree again. And all this was symbolic. Why? He says because before a person drinks wine, he looks like a lamb. He's innocent. He's naive. He's such a good guy. As if he knows nothing. However, after he drinks a little bit, he starts to feel like what? Like a lion. You ever see people after a few drinks, more than 2, more than 4? They start to get a little bit more gusto.
Yeah.
After that, he says when people continue to drink, they turn to be pigs. They begin to soil themselves. They become dirty, even go on themselves, and even other things. And after he gets really, really drunk, he starts to behave like a monkey. He starts to dance around, make a fool out of himself, and starts to say dirty words, or starts to talk with a filthy language, and starts to behave like he doesn't know what he's doing, acting like a monkey. And all this is what happened to Noah. All that is what happened to Noah on that day. And all that is what happens to every person that overdrinks. Today, if a person overdrinks, it's exactly the same thing. Why? Because when that plant got planted again, the devil had a hand in it. Following this ordeal, we spoke about what happened to Noah with his son. So you can see that over drinking can lead to terrible things. Here's one example. The same wine of Gan Eden, I'm going to talk about this wine for just a little bit longer before we talk about regular wine. But the same wine from Gan Eden makes an encore again. Where? In Parashat Kedoshim, with the sons of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu. Nadav and Avihu had a stash of this wine. And on the inauguration of the Mishkan, on the day that it was the grand opening of the portable tabernacle, where their father is Kohen Gadol, and their uncle Moshe Rabbeinu is the leader of the Jewish nation, and they themselves are going to be anointed as Kohanim, they said, you know what? It's our turn to do the tikkun of Adam and Chava. We are going to take it. We know what? We're going to fix it from the root. Before we need to bring any animal sacrifices, we're going to fix the chet of Adam and Rishon. And what did they do? They drank from that wine, and they entered to the Mishkan, to the Holy of Holies. And what happened? They got zapped into a crisp. Why? They had good intentions, but they drank from the wine. Plus, they did something without the authorization of their father, the Kohen Gadol, and without the instruction of their leader, Moshe Rabbeinu. They took it upon themselves. So you can see that even people that had good intentions with wine, terrible outcome. By the way, if you notice in that parasha, the reason that they got killed, it says because they brought esh zara, they brought a strange fire, which is, they talks about that they brought a certain incense that wasn't called for, it wasn't required, it wasn't part of the plan, the strange fire, this ketoret. But the strange fire is the fire that sometimes a human being has. A human being sometimes has the fire. I want to get closer to Hashem. I want to do the right thing. But if you don't do it right, yeah, you don't go to shul drunk, right? You don't come say, you know what, I'm going to down a bottle of wine, feel great, and come and pray. That's only allowed in Purim. No other time. As well, especially in Sephardic shuls, and any shul, I think. Our sages tell us in the Midrash that drinking wine in excess can lead to several things. One is transgressing. In other words, passing over laws of the Torah. Also transgressing the laws of family purity. As well as issuing improper rulings on Torah matters. A person who is drunk can't really give halakha. And also leads to impoverishment. And there are several other stories in the Torah that several other stories of wine drinking with a bad history. As a matter of fact, I think a couple of parashiyot ago we had the story of Lot. Lot, right after the destruction of Sdom v'Amorah, his wife turned into a pillar. He finds himself in a cave with his 2 daughters, and they all believe that the entire world got destroyed. So his daughters are saying, hey, there's nobody on this planet. There's only 3 people left. It's us and our dad.
That's why it's the planet of the grapes.
Planet of the grapes. Last week was better. Last week you were so. I was telling my wife. Last week was 7 on. So she was, hey, what did he say? I was like, holy bagel, like all these things. It was great.
You're like, yes, you do the puns. Wow.
No, last week's puns were amazing.
Yeah, cool.
So Lot finds himself in the cave, and his daughters use wine to get him drunk, and then end up having relations with him, and they end up having children from them, Ammon and Moab, which ended up to be the enemies of Am Yisrael. And you see that another bad story with wine. Baruch Hashem, that from Moab we were able to get Ruth, and Ruth is the grandmother of David HaMelech. David HaMelech is Mashiach. There's always a silver lining to every story, but let's just say that for this class' sake, that wine does not always lead to the best place. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons why the 10 tribes of Israel were exiled was their excessive alcohol consumption. If you guys remember, a few months ago we did an amazing lesson, the lost tribes, the lost tribes of Israel, the 10 lost tribes of Israel. And those tribes that we spoke about that time, that we don't know where they are today, the reason why they were exiled is because they drank too much wine. As a matter of fact, the prophet Amos says, woe to those who are at ease in Zion, and to those who are secure in the mountain of Samaria, and here it is, who drink from basins of wine. That was the rebuke he gave them before they left. Furthermore, our rabbis tell us, Yain ha-meshaker she'oseh roges v'ka'as. People that drink an excessive amount of wine, it brings them to anger. Umachshich hapanim, and darkens the face of the person. Va'einayim lo'atot miyayin harogez, and the eyes start to get lit. They turn into fire from the anger. Do you ever see an angry drunk? That's what the rabbis are describing over here.
I hope you're going to give us some good news about one.
Oh, it's coming up.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
coming up, yeah.
Shlomo HaMelech in Mishle, in Proverbs says, Letz hayayin hema shechar v'chol shogeh bo lo yichkam. It says wine is a mocker. Anyone who drinks wine, it's a tool. The wine uses you, to mock yourself. Strong drink is riotous, and whoever errs with it thereby is not wise. Meaning, if you drink too much and you err with wine, you're not a wise person. Shlomo HaMelech. Yain v'shena l'reshayim, hana'a lahen v'hana'a la'olam. Wine and sleep to the wicked is a joy for them and for us. Because when the wicked are sleeping, we don't have to deal with them. V'latzadikim ra lahen v'ra la'olam. But tzadikim that drink wine, it's bad for them and it's bad for the world. That's also in Gemara Sanhedrin. So, with so many bad things happening with wine, and we can go on and on, I just took a couple of nuggets that I thought were interesting. And wine having such a bad track record, why do we consume so much of it? Why do we put ourselves in risk? How many times a year is wine in our hand?
Or both hands.
Or in both hands?
That's a balance.
Double fisting, you have to be balanced. It seems like it's a dangerous beverage. It seems like it's a killer beverage. Well, here's the other side of wine. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the Rashbi, the author of the Zohar, brings in the Zohar that wine has kedusha and refuah. That actually wine has holy properties to it, and you can get healing from it. Refuah. Ki lo nimtza kedusha ela bayayin. He says you can't find anywhere holiness like you find in wine. V'al ken hakiddush shel Shabbat hu al yain, and that's why we bless on Shabbat on yain. Here's a few things that the Gemara says about wine before we talk about Shabbat. Amar Bichia, kol hamityeshev beino yesh bo da'at 70 skanim. Anyone who's able to handle his wine, it's as if he has the smarts, the knowledge, the wisdom of 70 sages. Why? Because yain, the numerical value, the gematria of yain is 70. Yud and Yud, 10 and 10 is 20. Nun is 50. Altogether is 70. Anyone who's able to hold his wine, it's like he can have the knowledge, the wisdom of 70 sages. Furthermore, there's that famous saying, Nichnas yain yatsa sod. When you drink wine, comes out a secret. What does it mean? Nichnas yain, yain is 70. If you take the word sod, secret, it's also 70. Because samech is 60, vav is 6, dalet is 4. So when you drink wine, because you know anything that has the same numerical value has a big connection to it. If you drink wine, comes out a sod. And over here, sod is not, did I tell you what my girlfriend did last night? It's not those type of secrets. It's the secrets of the Torah. Amar Bichanin, lo nivra yain ela lenachem avelim. Wine was created just to console the grieving, people that are mourning the dead. V'leshalem sachar yoshaim, and to give reward to the wicked because they love wine. Amar Rabbi Chanin ben Papa, anyone kol shenishpach betoch beto k'mayim eno bichlal bracha. It says anyone who doesn't have wine that spills over in his house, it's not a house that has a blessing. So sometimes you see people that they fill up the wine to the point where it spills over. My cup is runneth over. Why? The Gemara tells us because that's bracha. That's bracha. Anyone who doesn't have a cup that runs over and wine doesn't spill in his house, there's no sign of bracha in that house.
Is it only for Kiddush that it should spill over?
No, it's for any time, because this is when does a person bring out wine? When he's hosting. When he's hosting as achnasat orchim. A person who's able to do achnasat orchim is a person of chesed, is a person that does tzedakah, is a person who wants to celebrate life, celebrate God, celebrate an event. So anytime that there's wine poured in your house, it's a bracha.
It has to overflow. You said you have to pour, when you pour it in, it has to a little bit come out.
Yes.
But how much?
They do it also, that's right.
Is there a minimum that you have to drink when you give it to someone? Is there a minimum?
In order for a revi'it. A revi'it is a mouthful. In a second I'll explain what a revi'it is. But usually when you drink a cup of wine, when you do a blessing, in order for you to be yotzeh of the beracha, you can't just make a beracha and sip a little bit. That means beracha lebatala. You have to drink a revi'it. For example, that's a full cup. A quarter of that cup is a revi'it. Okay. Furthermore, he says certain things that you can judge a person. It's a famous saying. B'shlosha dvarim adam nikar. Amar bi elai b'shlosha dvarim adam nikar. Bekoso uvechiso uvkaaso. How do you really know a person? One, bekoso, how he holds his liquor, how he holds his wine. Second one, bekiso, when you start talking to him about money. He's according to his answers, that's how you can judge what kind of person he is. And bekaso, the way he angers. Does he anger slowly? Does he anger quickly? If you really want to know who a person is, those are the three measuring bars. How does he handle his drink? How does he deal with his money? How does he handle his anger? Chamisha dvarim meshuvim talimud. A person who wants to have good memory, a person who wants to have not only good memory, retain memory, or even study something new. He should. There's several things. One of them, he should be regular with drinking wine and smelling besamim. It's good to have a glass of wine, even on a daily basis. We know this already, but now I'm giving sources from our sages. V'yayin is sameach levav enosh. The yayin is a yayin that makes a person happy. And you can see that Rova brachot hen al hayayin. He says that the rabbis are telling us that most of the blessings that we do are in wine. Why? Lama? Ela shayayin hu bchina hamesamachat et hakol. Wine has the power to make every single person happy. Every person that drinks wine is the wine can have the effect on them to get happy. Al hahu yayin hameshumar tamid ba'anavav. Speaking about certain type of wine, hameshumar is the wine that we have nowadays. Now, we're talking a lot about kiddushim. Let's talk about kiddush. The kiddush that we do the most commonly is a kiddush on Shabbat. Here's a few things that you might not know. The kiddush on Shabbat is a very powerful kiddush. It restores vision. The rabbis tell us that I believe in Masechet Brachot, it says a person, when he takes big steps, they call it tzadim gasim.
Giant steps.
Giant steps, it shows a sign of arrogance. And each step lowers 1/500th of his vision. So you could say a person can take a walk throughout the day and by the end of the day he might be blind. Chas v'shalom. So they said it's 1/500th of a portion of the vision, but you have a chance to gain all that vision back when? Friday night Kiddush. Friday night Kiddush, when you do Kiddush, you look at the cup, and when you look at the cup, that restores the vision. Which is interesting because science told us that it restores vision, right? I wonder how they found that out. As a matter of fact, last week, if you recall, we learned Maga'esh. What's Maga'esh? Remember that we said if there's a table in front of us and there's all types of different foods, how do we know which food we eat first? So each food has its own kavod, its own honor. So we go according to the Maga'esh. Maga is motzi, gefen, etz, adama, shehakol. Those are the 5 levels. So that means if I have bread in front of me, that's what I bless first. The next on the level is gefen, if I have wine. Then etz, meaning anything that grows from the tree, then anything that grows from the ground, and then shehakol. But on Shabbat, we can see that we don't follow this rule. We see that gefen comes before motzi. Why is that? Look how important the gefen is. The reason why is because we do a kiddush. We said, en kedusha ela bayayin. This kedusha that we do, that's how we sanctify the day. So in order for the bread not to be embarrassed, what do?
Cover it.
We cover it. Yes, we are blessing on it, but don't look at us while we're blessing it. That's why we're covering the bread. Because typically you're first. You're the king of all foods. And right now we're blessing on the king of all drinks. You're still on top, but we're covering you out of respect. That's the kiddush of Shabbat. Now, for those of you that are married, there's a big inyan to give that cup that you blessed on right away to your wife. You hold it with your 10 fingers and you hand it over to her because it's filled with yeshuot, filled with salvations. For health, for pregnancy, for children, whatever you need is in that cup. As a matter of fact, there's a story of Rav Nachman in the Gemara. He had a visitor one time, Rav Huna, who came over his house for Shabbat. And the custom is, when you have guests, you allow the guest to do Kiddush. That's how, by the way, when you have a guest over on Shabbat, how do you honor him? You let him do Kiddush. Not the bread. The bread is for the Baal Habayit. He's the one that blesses on bread. Never give somebody else to bless Motzi Lechem Min Haaretz. That's your job. But Gefen, you can honor your guest. So Rav Huna is in the house of Rav Nachman, and he blesses on the Kiddush. Now right after Kiddush, what do you typically do? you give it to the lady of the house. So Rav Nachman tells him, give it to my wife. It's like, it's, out of tzniut, I'm going to give it to you. And if you want, you can give it to her. He's like, no, give it to my wife. He goes, I'll pass it to you, and not a problem. So Rav Nachman obliges to Rav Huna. He takes the cup and he passes it on to his wife. And his wife was a tough cookie, and she was very upset because she knew the power of the geffen and of the bracha that's in it, and she got super upset.
That's just sour grapes.
That's sour grapes. You're good. You're on the board. And what happened? She went on top of the roof where they had 400 barrels of wine, and she started throwing them all from the roof. How much money?
On Shabbat?
No, in Motzei
That
Shabbat.
was much worse than sour.
Sour grapes is not the word, because she knew the value of that bracha. She was willing to lose 400 barrels of wine. How much is a barrel of wine? $100, $1,000, 400 of them.
I have a good plan. Pre-MS.
So you see, you don't want to lose this beracha. If you don't have this as a custom, make it a custom to pass it on to your wife. There's a lot of yeshod, a lot of berachot in that particular cup. As a matter of fact, when you do kiddush, it's good to do kiddush on the table. And if you're going to have a better bottle of wine, don't put it on the table. Wait till after kiddush. Because there's a halakha that says that when you bring a new bottle to the table that is on a higher level, a dry wine or a fancy wine, this is a $7 bottle of wine, or a grape juice, and this is a $10 Man Shevetz is my favorite. For me, it's like mevdag. But let's just say if you get a fancier bottle, $10, $20, or $50, or $100, whatever it is, you have the opportunity to do another bracha on Shabbat. And what's the bracha that you do on it? It's not borei pri hagefen. It's actually hatov umetiv. You can say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hatov umetiv, and you drink that wine. You pick up another bracha on Shabbat. That's a mitzvah that you can only make only on wine, and only when in these types of scenarios, Shabbat, Chagim. So try to pick it up. It's a beautiful mitzvah. In Havdalah, as you know, there's also some very unique customs during Havdalah. What's Havdalah? Havdalah, we pour the cup. And you see that after we take when Havdalah is over, we take a little bit of the wine and we pour it into a plate. We put out the candle in it, and then there's the plate with wine on it. And then you see everybody runs to the plate, or everybody runs to the cup. Everybody wants to drink from that cup, which, by the way, you don't have a chiyuv to drink from that cup at all. The only person that needs to drink from it is the person that blesses on it, revi'it. Nobody does it, but why are they running to it? Because they know there's a blessing over there. Now, the other things that they put on the plate, you see that they take their fingers and they do this. You might see people that do this, put on their forehead. You know why? Not to get angry. Then they take a little bit more and they put on the eyes. Why? To protect the eyes. And they take a little bit more and they put on the lips. Why? So they protect the mouth, what they speak, what they eat. And then they take the most important one, you put on the loose bone. In the back of your neck, there's a special bone that sticks out. You put that on top of it, and then there's other customs that we actually take it, stand up, and put it in our pockets for parnasah. And then there's also, you take two and you put them on the floor. That's for the sitra achra. We always after Birkat Hamazon, what do? Mayim achronim chova. Who's the mayim achronim for? It's for the sitra achra. This also, they see us getting all this after Shabbat, all the brachot of the week are coming. We're saying, here, this is for you, leave us alone.
My father does that with water. Like when he drinks, before he drinks, opens up a bottle of water, he always pours it on the floor a little bit.
Yeah.
He told me it's kabbalah.
So another thing with wine, wine is din, is judgment. Okay? So when we do kiddush, what do? We add 3 drops of water. And what's the 3 drops of water that we add over there? For several reasons. One, le'amtik et adin. The water represents chesed. So we put a little bit of chesed inside of it, so it's not din. We don't want to deal with din. Din is we don't want to deal with judgment or strict judgment. We always want to sweeten the judgment. How do we do? 3 drops of water. And what do the waters represent? Maleh yadenu mi birchotecha. Male, Mem, Yadenu, Yud, Mibrachatecha, spells out Maim. And then, Me'osher matnot yadecha. There's Maim again. What is it? It's bless us in our handiwork and bless us from your wealth that you have in the Shamayim. Bless us with it. So you see that even in the yain that we do, it's a custom for kiddush to put 3 drops of water. Now, this wine that's left over, wine that's left over in the cup, or the wine that's left over on the plate that holds the wine, or even or you see in Havdalah, the plate that we have the leftover wine over there. These leftover wine are called Sha'arei Mitzvah, the leftovers of a mitzvah, and they have tremendous powers. Don't think that the wine on the bottom of the plate is useless. Grab that and drink that first. Me, I have a habit of taking it and putting it straight to my cup. I want the Sha'arei Mitzvah. Because the Sha'arei Mitzvah are very powerful. Sha'arei Mitzvahs. Which cup? I'm not talking about Havdalah. I'm talking about any leftover, a cup that has been blessed on, anything that's left over from the blessing, whether whatever left in the cup, if something spilled on the plate, whatever is that, it has don't discard it. It's very powerful. As a matter of fact, the Sha'arei Mitzvah, they say also have a great segulot for health, for pregnancies, for children, for atzlacha, for parnasa. As a matter of fact, there's a story. There's a story of the Baba Sali's grandfather, Rabbi Yaakov Abu Hatzera. They used to call him Abir Yaakov. He was on a boat. They said it was either during Sukkot or during Pesach. And they were in the middle of a storm, in the middle of the ocean. And that's it. They knew that the boat was going down. So they knew that he was a big rabbi. And they went over to him. Some were Jews, some were Gentiles, and knocked on the door and said, Rabbi, we know you're a great man. We're in the middle of a storm. Do something. Pray to God. He tells them, bring me a bottle of wine. Let's do kiddush for the holiday. So bring a bottle of wine. You can imagine the boat is going up and down and people are super nervous. They're in the middle of a storm. They do the kiddush, and then the plate that was holding the kiddush had some leftover wine. He took that plate and he went up to the deck, and that Sha'arei Mitzvah, the leftover drops of wine, he went like this into the water, dropped it, and instantly the ocean stood still. And this story is documented in his biography as well as with witnesses.
Wow.
Sha'arei Mitzvah. There's many other places that we could talk about Kiddush, but I just want to move forward with another interesting fact of Kiddush. In Kiddush, we do something very unique. We say, Savri Maranan. And what do we say? L'chaim. And it's very interesting. What is this part? This Savri Maranan L'chaim. Well, we can see that a lot of bad stuff has happened from people that drink wine. That at times has led to death. So when we drink wine, what do we say? When we drink wine, what do we drink for? We drink to life. We're not that bunch that wants to drink for death. We drink to life, l'chaim. We want to be alive. This is a good thing. This is a good moment. There's some that even say l'chaim tovim u'shalom. There's some people that even add that to good life and to peace. For good life and for peace.
You say geffen. They say geffen, gesund, parnasa, nachas.
Nice.
So you say geffen.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Chidush. Another thing that you should know is during the time of the judges in the Jewish court, when the court was deliberating on capital cases, meaning cases that involved death, what they would do is when the time for judgment came around, what they would say is, Savri Maranan, what do you say? What do you hold? what is your opinion? What is the verdict? So if they say that the person is innocent or not guilty or he gets to walk, they say L'chaim. However, if he wasn't and he's guilty, they say Savri Maranan. What they say? Lamavet. They would say Lamita, to death. That's the source of that. That's where that comes from. Why? Because right after he's declared to death, Lamavet or Lamita, they would give him wine. A very, very strong wine. What? A wine that will dull his senses, so he won't feel the punishment that's coming up. So you see, when we say L'chaim, what's L'chaim? We drink to life. That's one thing. The second thing is the source that at one time people would say Savri Mayanan, it would be to death.
Is it true that it very rarely happens?
Yes. But it's still,
7 years or so.
yes. There's a special toast when we say L'chaim. The Rabbi Dovber of Mezrich used to always say L'chaim ve'livracha. L'chaim ve'livracha. That's how you would say it. L'chaim ve'livracha. And one time, his disciple, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, very, very big rabbi in the Chabad movement, answers him also L'chaim ve'livracha. So you see that this is something that the big sages were using. Why? He says, L'chaim is to life. Livracha, he says, no, it's not livracha. Don't read it livracha for blessing. Read it lev racha, to have a soft heart. To life and to have a soft heart. That was their approach. Also, you know, when we say L'chaim, what does it mean? Well, that means that we have two Jews that got together and are celebrating. Two Yids, right? That are coming and toasting. So, if you spell out L'chaim, it's Lamed Chet Yud Yud Mem. You have two Yudim over there. So it says when two Yudim get together, you say L'chaim. But what happens when the two Yudim leave? If you take the two Yuds out of L'chaim, what stays? Lechem, bread, parnasa. So he says it's a good segula. When you see another Jew, do L'chaim. Why? Because when the two Jews separate, what's left? Lechem, bread. It's a big segula for parnasa.
Wow.
For people when they do L'chaim. The Zohar brings something very beautiful. This is something that this is the kavanah you should have when you're doing L'chaim. It says, Yain hu ha-mesameach. Yain is the one that makes people happy. It brings joy. V'hapenim meirim, and the faces light up. V'ainayim tzochakot, and the eyes are laughing. Ve'oseh chiba ve'reut, and it creates camaraderie and love amongst people. So when people are happy and they bless each other, then the happy blessing is a real blessing. So that's why you notice when people are L'chaim, you should have health and bracha and hatzlacha, and you should have, why? It's real. And never discount the blessing of a hediot. What's a hediot? A common person. Don't think that all your blessings have to come from a rabbi or from a kohen or from some sort of huge person. We need those. By all means, chase that. You have a chase to go kiss a rabbi's hand, to go to speak to a rabbi, do it. But when a friend of yours or even a stranger does a L'chaim and he blesses you, be very, very happy, because it's very possible that particular blessing is going to come true. Yain mesameach. Yain, it makes you happy. For the right thing, for a mitzvah, the soul feels it. The neshama feels happy. But yain can also be meshaker. What's meshaker? It makes you drunk. So when you're over drinking, who pays the price? The body feels the repercussion. So when you do it right, who feels the wine? The neshama. When you do it wrong, what feels it? The body. It's a good way to understand where you're at when you're drinking wine. Now, when a person is drinking too much, or when a person is drinking wine in general, there's a few rules that you should know. If a person has gone to the point where they're drunk, he's not allowed to pray. You know why? Because a person that prays, if we were allowed to pray drunk, there's something very wrong with it. Because drunk people always see life as perfect. Everything is good. Drunk people are happy people. They see everything like nothing needs to change. I want to stay like this all the time. But real life, we have highs and lows. It's not good all the time. Sometimes we're low and we need to pray for Yeshua. Sometimes we're happy and we need to pray for somebody else. You can't pray as a drunk person because that's not a real prayer. Because a drunk person doesn't pray correctly. For him, everything is good. In reality, in life, not everything is good. So as a drunk person, you're not allowed to pray. You're not to give a halakha or render a halakha if you're drunk. If he's a Kohen, he's not allowed to give the Kohen blessing as a drunk. As a matter of fact, all that is actually hinted in the word yain. You know, the worlds got created with two letters. Our world got created with the letter Hey. The upper worlds got created with the letter Yud. Olam Haba got created with Yud. This world with the letter Hey. What that means is for a whole other class. Okay? But just knowing that the letter that created the upper worlds is Yud, so they say Yain, if you drink one cup, it takes you to the upper world. Drink another cup, it'll take you to the other world. You drink too much, you get the Nun, takes you all the way down. And you see the Nun Sofit, it's a very long Nun. He says, be careful, you can go very high. One Yud, another Yud, you're in the heavens, you're in the right place. You take one extra, there's the Nun, takes you all the way down. It's in the word, Yain. Masechet Derech Eretz says something very interesting. Yain rubo kashe. Anyone who drinks too much yain, it's going to be difficult for him. Umiuto yafeh. But a little bit of it is just right. It's just perfect. So, on that point, it says yain kashe. What's yain kashe? What's a hard wine? It's a wine that gets you drunk. And when the wine gets you drunk, it becomes hard. When it becomes hard for a person to tolerate it, what's the best thing for them? Sleep. Go to sleep. Sleep it off. Sleep helps to relieve the intensity of wine. And when you're sleeping, look what it says over here. Anyone who sees wine in their dream, what should they think? It says there's some that dream about wine and it's good for them, and there's some that dream about wine and it's bad for them. It's a deen, it's judgment. It says, Im talmid chacham hu, if you're a learned person, if you're a Torah Jew, and you dream about wine, it says yain samech levav enosh. Yain is going to make the heart happy, right? It says it's a good sign. However, if you're not a Torah Jew, if you're not a Torah scholar, and you dream about wine, it's bad. He gives the pasuk, Nushchar oved v'en nafesh. So what does he do? He says anybody who's not a righteous Jew and it gets that type of dream, you better go and atone for it. Which way? He says, in order to pass this judgment, in order to awaken up the mercy, Ma'avir yain umevi hayain. He has to go and do some sort of korban or some sort of offering, or in other words, go give some sort of tzedakah, go do some sort of prayer, because it's not a good omen. I'll give you a couple of interesting facts before we finish. It says yain, not only is it mesameach, it's also masbiah. Yain, not only does it make you happy, it also satiates. As a matter of fact, when a person drinks two glasses of wine or 2 cups of wine, it counts as a seudah. It counts as a seudah. It counts as if he had a meal. So sometimes when you'll see certain shuls, when they don't have food, they'll tell the people, drink 2 cups of wine. It counts as a seudah. As a matter of fact, the end seudah ela bebasar v'yain. Anytime you hear the word seudah that is something that we're obligated to do, whether it's on holidays, Rosh Chodesh, or Brit Milah, or a wedding. What's a seudah? A seudah is only when you have wine and meat. Wine is a very, very big part of our culture. It's also a stress reliever. It also removes fear. It also brings chokhmah, memory, and no cancer. And the Radak brings that Israeli wine is the highest quality for healing. Wine from Israel has the segula for healing more than any other wine. Speaking of wine, since we live outside of Eretz Yisrael, we live here in the United States, what happens when a goy touches your wine? So, you have to understand that wine is din, judgment. It's a strong thing that we don't want to deal with. The goy is also din. So as soon as he touches the bottle or the cup, his din goes into this din. And now it permeates the spiritual energy of the wine and it's able to damage the Jew's soul. So what do? We tell him not to touch it. Or we buy wine that is yain mevushal. What's yain mevushal? Wine that's been cooked. Wine that's been cooked, it went through a certain process. A goy can actually serve you and you can hold it and nothing happens. However, if it's not yain mevushal and they touch it, be careful, your neshama is on the line. It can get hurt because din and din get mixed up together. We don't like to mix up dinim. We like to sweeten the judgment. Okay, final note. You know, there's so much more. But again, I always like to give a good, nice sampling so we can understand the next time, in a couple of days. What, a couple of days? Tomorrow night, Rosh Chodesh.
No,
Yes, like it's
tonight,
tonight.
now.
It's tonight.
Now it's Rosh Chodesh?
Yes,
Now.
Thursday. Tomorrow's Rosh Chodesh. It's tonight.
And tomorrow. It's 2 days. So now is Rosh Chodesh. Go home and have a glass of wine. Put a steak on the barbecue. Steak and wine.
Why not?
Huh?
Why not?
Why not? It's 9:30. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that you see that you have these opportunities now. When you look at the wine, don't look at it the same. Just like you don't look at the bread the same. You have to understand, look at it. This is my parnasah. This is my health. This is my vision. This is my everything. And once you understand that within those foods, within those drinks lies everything, and you eat it, then the neshama starts to say, okay, now you know you're eating that for your health. Now you know you're eating that for your spirituality. Now it's going to work. Because you know, you activate the powers within it. Be'ezrat Hashem, that will merit to have kavanot, or to be connected to the foods that we eat, to our religion, to our bread, to our wine. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that will... You know, there's going to be a seudah. Remember that wine that I was telling you that's in the heavens? Hashem is saving it actually. You know what He's saving it for? In the time of Mashiach, there's going to be a big seudah. All the people that merited to the Geulah, there's going to be a big, big seudah. And there's going to be a kiddush. You know who's going to do that kiddush? David HaMelech is going to make a kiddush on the wine from the 6 days of Bereshit, from that tree, from that wine that got squeezed at that time, and he's going to do a kiddush. So Be'ezrat Hashem, that we see each other on that table and we say l'chaim to each other and we taste from the she'arei mitzvah of David HaMelech and Seudat Mashiach. Hashem varech otchem, sameach otchem, shitu libechem lechela, pasegu maten, leman tasegu d'achorot.
Did a great job.
Great job.